And when we practice in meditation, then we learn how to apply that to whatever it is that we're doing. That's what I love about it, is practicing focus in meditation and then applying that same focus to painting or anything physical that we're doing. The more that we can put our attention 100% onto what we're doing, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so that seems to be the key to everything. So if we can learn to do it in the peaceful, quiet meditation, then we can apply it even to, say, somebody that is criticizing us or being rude to us, or somebody cuts you off in traffic. You have that space to, all right, I've practiced calmness in the peace. Can I have calmness when it's not peaceful? Can I have calmness when somebody is yelling at me, or somebody is saying something to me that's not true, or things like that? And we learn that's a superpower that you can have, that most people on the planet don't have that ability to just be able to be calm and centered. And that is, I feel like that's what, we see the example of a Jedi. In the midst of anything, they're always calm.
Yeah.
They lose that center, that balance, then they're prone to fear.
That's where the dark side comes in. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And that's kind of like a cornerstone of self-defense in my perspective, where if you don't have that internal peace and there's chaos coming at you, you're going to escalate a situation.
Welcome to the Unlimited You podcast. Believing firmly in the limitless potential that resides within each individual, your host, Master Victor Almeida, a distinguished martial arts expert, is here to guide you in unlocking your inner power. Each episode offers practical knowledge, from strength training techniques to the calming practices of meditation, tailored to enhance your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Join us on this empowering journey and embrace the warrior that lies within you.
And welcome everybody to another episode of The Unlimited You. Today we have Palehorse here, and we're going to talk about meditation, the power of meditation that it has in your life, in martial arts, and that transcends and touches everybody else around us. First, we'll start with introducing Palehorse. He's a wonderful artist, great meditation teacher. I met Palehorse here in St. Petersburg at Roots to Crown, where he leads a meditation class on Wednesdays. If you're ever in St. Petersburg, I highly recommend it. It is absolutely transformational. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in meditation, your artwork.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. Happy to be here and to share. I've been making artwork professionally for over 20 years now. And for most of my career, I've been a commercial illustrator, creating artwork for brands and entertainment companies and bands and skateboard brands and action sports and things like that. And in 2020, I made the decision to, like a lot of us over the lockdown period, really kind of questioning, what is my life's true purpose? What am I really meant to be doing? And I made the decision then to let go of my clients and my agent that I had in New York, and to really make the leap into pursuing creating sacred art and continuing to provide meditation offerings. And my life now consists of figuring out how to do that while still earning a living, which is an interesting place to be. I've worked for a lot of brands over the years, National Geographic and Nike and Mini Cooper and WWE and Live Nation, things like that. And a lot of action sports companies as well, t-shirts. I was doing a lot of apparel design for a lot of brands as well. And then I also make my own shirts. Yeah, so I have apparel that I make for my own brand now called Seekers of the Eternal, which is also what I call the meditation group and the podcasts that I host now. And I work with my brother. We paint murals as well. So, and the work that we do is really now focused around deities. We love tuning with deities, focusing on deities, creating the artwork, and then being able to spend time in the presence of a deity and really get into the Sanskrit word is the bhav or bhavana of a deity. To feel as if that spirit or that presence is there with you, guiding you, flowing through you as you're creating the work. And it allows us to do things that we didn't think we were capable of.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And being able to take on projects that are bigger than, or things that we haven't quite mastered yet, but being able to connect with it. And we chant mantras while we paint and focus really deeply. So when we're painting murals, it's usually, we'll paint for 12 hours a day. We'll do energization exercises to recharge, and it's usually a real marathon when we're painting murals, and we really love that because we get to focus really strongly on the work that we're doing, as well as the paintings that we do for gallery shows. Is what we're aiming at now with the paintings and the artwork is that it's the energy that we have while we're putting down the paint, while the paint is going on to the piece. It's about the consciousness that we have while that's happening, and the connection to spirit that we have. So what we say is, if you're in a calm place and you're enjoying watching that paint go onto the canvas, and you're not in a place where you're doubting yourself, where you're thinking about other things. Of course, those come in, it's a practice, but it always like returning, just like meditation, keeping the mind focused and watching the strokes go onto it. And the artwork that we do it's a lot of just the solid line work and fills. So we try to paint things that are really clean and detailed and really solid that way. So yeah, that's what we're doing now. And also, we can get into other aspects of the project that I'm working on now is around the monkey deity Hanuman.
Yes.
So I became obsessed with Hanuman. It's been a growing obsession that started about 20 years ago when I first saw the monkey deity in Thailand. And that was the first time that I had ever seen sacred art in person, really even thought about things like that. I was a atheist, metalhead, skateboarder,
And you saw this artwork at a temple, right?
Yeah, temples in Thailand. There's a temple in Thailand called the Grand Palace. And it has obviously a longer Thai name, but the Grand Palace, and then there's a temple in the center. But there's, in that space, there is a mural that wraps around the entire perimeter.
Wow.
And it tells the story of the monkey deity Hanuman and Rama and Sita. And it's a story of a 10-headed demon king and a monkey and bear army that rescues a princess. And the monkey has superpowers. So when I went there, I was not interested in spiritual things. I was just sightseeing. I had a friend that was going there, and when I saw that, it just cracked something open. It sparked something in me that really transformed me. I went to school for graphic design, and at that time I was working at a design studio. And when I went to Thailand, something shifted in my mind where when I came, I was buying a bunch of books on Thai art when I was there, and got so interested in the sacred art there. And then when I came back, I started drawing those images and wanting to pursue that more. But I didn't know anything really about the spiritual aspect of it, the meditation side of it.
Yeah.
And it just planted seeds in me that grew and grew over time. And now I feel like I'm finally ready to take on a big project around Hanuman right now.
Yeah. So initial style and depiction of it kind of drew you in, and then later the depth of it got you. Yeah.
Yeah, the aesthetics, and that's what I feel like maybe my artwork, the thing that I'm doing with it is, one, the theme really is around the power of storytelling and how powerful that can be for our lives to see. And then a story like the Ramayana, which is the epic of the monkey deity, is that with these ancient stories of these heroes, of these deities that take form, take birth as these incarnations here on Earth, they are like perfect examples of how to respond to various situations that come to us in life. And so having this like epic story like that and being able to use that as a guidepost, like an esoteric story. I think maybe like this idea of like esoteric, I heard somebody say that one way to think about esoteric, you could think of Karate Kid, which is an interesting way. Like with Karate Kid, when he's with Mr. Miyagi, he's going there to learn martial arts, but then he's just painting the fence and waxing the car. And then he doesn't know why he's doing it. He's just doing it because he was told to do it. And all of a sudden somebody goes to punch him and then he knows how to block. And that's really how esoteric wisdom works when you're reading this book. It's just this phantasmic, mystical hero's journey book. It's very similar to like Star Wars or something like this. And you can read it just as entertainment, and then all of a sudden something happens to you in your life, and then it triggers a memory of something you read in that book of how to properly respond in the moment. And I feel like that is really something the power of storytelling can do. And so I want to, with my artwork, is to help turn people on to also metaphor. So this idea of that you can, a lot of people at first maybe were like metaphorically impaired. We don't, you don't see that there's even a way to take the story and use it in your life.
Yeah, because there's so much depth in it. And as humans, I feel like we learn through stories where if you can really pay attention to it and understand it, you learn that lesson without having to experience it yourself, and then you can apply it rather than, going through that suffering yourself. You get to put yourself in their shoes and learn through the story. I feel like that's where those metaphors and that storytelling can really benefit us in attaining wisdom that we haven't lived through, essentially.
Yeah. So, and I love that way of that. I love learning like that, and I love stories and novels and movies, epic things like that. And so, for me, being able to use artwork to help bring people into this spiritual understanding in the same way that it worked on me, who had zero interest in these things, but it was the aesthetics. It was like this really juicy, amazing story. And then slowly it like wears down the hang-ups that you have around, oh, this is religion, or this is something that I don't like, or whatever it is. I feel like stories and art can help loosen us up and help us to see things in a new way and it's like, actually, I like to think about also like religion. Like if you think about what is religion really? It's artwork, epic stories, it's music, it's fashion, So like all of the things that make up our high forms of art, really poetry and the same thing, is really what religion is. And then if that artwork is being made by a fully awakened being, then it lasts through thousands of years. It never dies. It keeps getting told over and over.
There's that intention, that charged energy in it. Just because you're saying where you're chanting while you're painting, you're putting that energy into each stroke, and that gives it that power, essentially. And with that, in the combination of, for example, Ganesh, you're drawing this divine entity with that intention, and that collectively empowers that message and charges everything even more. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's the idea with it. And then for my brother and I, as we're making the work, it's a way to, I heard my friend Chris Dyer is an artist. He said, I make artwork to cooperate with my own soul's awakening, with my soul's awakening. And I didn't have the way to put that into words, and I really like the way that he said that. It was like we're cooperating with our soul's awakening. So allowing, as I get more into my spiritual practice, sometimes you think like, oh, what's the point of making art anymore. Before it was like a career, and I'm wanting to boost my name, and I wanted to get, this recognition and fame and whatever it is that artists are doing, but transforming it into one where now I'm doing this as a way to cooperate with the awakening process that's happening. And now it's moving into that kind of way of making work.
It's like a reflection or even expression, that creation of the artwork. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's kind of like what got pointed you in the direction of meditation was Hanuman in Thailand. That's amazing. And then like from there, what kind of got you to look into meditation further? Like what led you to essentially Kriya Yoga and Ananda Village?
It was, for me, the big catalyst was psilocybin mushrooms. And it was podcasts that got me interested in mushrooms. You know? I think you go back to back then it was Joe Rogan podcast. I don't listen to it now. I don't know where he's at now, but he was such a gateway to so many things. So I remember I was tuned in live to the JRE podcast episode #1 before it was like they even knew what they were doing, And he was just talking about ancient civilizations and Sasquatch and anomalies and all this kind of stuff and strange scientific fringe science. And I loved that sort of thing. And then he started talking, and I was straight edge as well. Like I grew up straight edge, was in like straight edge punk bands, hardcore bands, things like that. Was not drinking or doing drugs and things like that. But I started hearing him talk about the benefits of psychedelic medicine as a way to improve your life. And so that really stuck out to me, and so I became interested. It was so funny, is like, as soon as I became interested in that, then somebody shows up and says, you want some mushrooms? And you're like, oh, cool, So it was starting to find psilocybin, and that cracked me open and broke my rules that I had about religion, what I thought religion was, what I thought meditation was. And I found myself just going, I know what meditation is. And I started seeing just, I don't know where it was coming from, but just visions of images of Ganesha or these deities. I didn't even know who they were at the time, but I was just seeing those in visions.
Interesting.
And then becoming interested in reading scriptures from there. It was until mushrooms that I actually read the Ramayana. I was interested in it aesthetically. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'm ready to read this. And so I started reading that and the Bhagavad Gita, and there's a few of my favorite scriptures. The Tibetan Book of the Dead was a really powerful one for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't read that one. Okay.
Yeah, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is beautiful, especially for psychonauts. Okay. Because it's the Bardo states, which you can really correlate to a psychedelic journey. Okay. The Bardo, the phases of the after-death state is what the Tibetan Book of the Dead is. Okay. So you find yourself in the after-death, moment after death, and everybody goes through these bardos, these phases of their after-death state. And you compare those. Actually, Ram Dass and Timothy Leary was Richard Alpert before he was Ram Dass. Him and Timothy Leary wrote a book called The Psychedelic Experience, which is a trip guide that was based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so I started using that in my psychedelic journeys and getting really into the Tibetan Book of the Dead and reading the Ramayana. And that was my introduction into, and really it started out too, I wasn't so comfortable with God at all.
Yeah, even the word, I know a lot of people are very uncomfortable. I have a lot of friends who they'll hear that word and they're like, because of what religion has done to the word and the meaning to it, to a lot of people, it's very traumatizing.
Yeah, so at first I was looking for people who were doing mindfulness meditations, or people that would do things that didn't include God in it. And then after a while, it just became silly not to include that.
And the way that I feel like we look at it, God to us is the universe, everything that exists, right? The collective whole that is everything, from this table to you, me, the galaxies 3 billion light years away. Like all of that vibration, the energy, the matter, all of that is God. And I feel like the goal in our meditation is to bring our awareness so that we realize that we are all of that while being here in this very moment, and attaining that awareness. And like the depiction of God being like some dude who controls and points things, I feel like becomes very diluted and can lead people astray. But when we really look at the source of it, where the divine energy of everything collectively, that omnipresence of the universe is us, is you, is everybody watching, that when we attune to that vibration, when we surrender to it, Satchit Ananda, that ever loving, ever new bliss, that's God. Yeah.
And the psychedelic experience can give us glimpses of that. And so it was like, okay, yeah, you hear these things like we're all one, and you can hear that and not know what it means, like, oh, that sounds nice. But then when you actually experience that and you feel yourself as the infinite universe, then it's like, okay, I'm interested in this. I want to practice.
Yeah.
And then it starts as, something that you're interested in, and you maybe start meditating once a week, and then now you're doing it twice a week, and then 3 times a week, and then over time. I remember it was in 2018, I believe, when I just made the decision that I was going to meditate every day, like, New Year's resolution. All right, I'm going to meditate every day for the rest of my life. And that's such a crucial moment in somebody's life where I think everything just starts to change for you when that happens.
Absolutely. For me, that was last year, probably a little bit after this time, maybe like March, April.
Yeah.
After we had started doing meditation with you, we took the Ananda Village course, me and Caroline, and we just started to see this very slow but very powerful change in our lives. And we started feeling that pull. I want to meditate more and longer and start really applying it into our lives. And I never want to go back. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah. And that's what with hosting those meditations, I always hope to find somebody like you that, gets interested in it, gets a taste of it, and then it's like, all right, well, it turns it on for you. And then you take the course. And that's so nice too, is to, I think, meet somebody that introduces you to like a teacher, and then having, all right, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm aiming at. It's very clear. It's not so nebulous anymore. And for a long time, obviously for many people, you dabble in things for a long time. And so I always hope that like maybe I can help people get there a little faster than I did. As like, all right, I've tried all of these things. This is the one that I really like, and then maybe it'll resonate with you.
Yeah.
And then this is a group that is like, they're pure and just in it for helping you to realize your own true potential. And so to be able to turn people on, that's like, it's music to my ears.
Yeah.
I love that. So I'm super stoked that that it's caught fire for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, my first experience meditating was probably in college. My roommate in college, Nathan, he had been meditating since he was a kid. Like his dad took him to meditation school, taught him like how to meditate. I don't necessarily know what technique or what exactly he did, but he kind of got me into the basics, the fundamentals of meditation, but it's very different than the way we do it. The way I feel like we do it with Kriya and with Hong Sa, there's these steps to prepare the body, the mind, and then it gives you a concentration point to then focus, and it allows the relaxation and the concentration to both happen at the same time, which then transcends the awareness. And where before, the different types of meditation they were very powerful, but it didn't prepare you in the same way and allow that, I guess, all of these different things from, I guess, mindfulness, Zen, and transcendence to occur. They maybe targeted one. And when we meditated on your Wednesday class, it felt like the surrender allowed the divine energy to then lead me forward, where I took a step, and I think you mentioned this yesterday, and you take 25%, your guru takes 25%, and then the divine energy pulls you the rest of the way. And I truly felt that first time we meditated with you. And it gave me that sense of like, this feels like the right way to do it. And I know that it's going to take me further than the ways I've done it in the past.
Yeah, that's the same how it was for me when I first learned this practice specifically, and finding the way that I found this path specifically with Yogananda and the Kriya Yoga masters. And for everybody listening, the Kriya Yoga is an ancient technique for becoming an energy master, mastering the life force energy. And as you become a master of Kriya Yoga, the great masters of Kriya, actually we learn, this is what we're practicing to get to a state where you can put your body into what's known as a state of suspended animation, where no longer the energy is going out to your limbs, the cosmic energy is coming in through the medulla, and then you just send it straight here. You put all of your consciousness there. And after you finish your Kriya Yoga practice and you're just super focused right here, also Hong Sa, which we practice on Wednesdays, is this way to practice for your own death. And you can actually get to a place where you die every day. Like even in the Bible, it talks about this. I die every day as one of the scriptural passages, and a clue to this, that we can learn how to turn off all of the energy that's going out to the body. And the masters can actually stop breathing. They can stop their hearts from pumping blood, and you experience the same experience that you would in an after-death state. So you get very comfortable with that. So then when you do find yourself fully leaving the body, you've just been doing it every night. So
And I think you make a shirt that actually says that it's a practice dying. And that practice gets you ready. So when it comes, you're not freaked out, you're not scared. You know exactly what to do, that surrender, that calmness. You've instilled the bliss that then you're ready for it. And I feel like that it becomes beautiful and not scary.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Swami Kriyananda has a phrase from one of his writings that says, "Fear not, peace awaits you in the unknown." So we become afraid of leaving the known physical world and moving into that unknown spiritual realm where anything is possible, and we can put on the brakes. He also has this metaphor of, say, a bird that's been in a cage for years. And if you open the door to that cage, the bird's not going to fly out. It's going to stay inside that cage. So that's very similar to us. The door is not locked. It's like we're trapped inside this prison with the door isn't even locked. It's wide open, but we're afraid to even step out beyond what we know to experience this unknown. Even if we're suffering in our life, we could still be afraid to break free from that. And they say that the bird, maybe it'll get some courage after a while, seeing the doors open, fly out, and then it'll get freaked out and come back in. That's like that idea when we get like a moment of that focused meditation, and then we're like, whoa, wow, and then we fly back in, we don't stay there. And then maybe you fly out again, and then you realize, oh, it's okay out here. So I stay out a little longer, come in, and then eventually you just leave the cage and you're free for good. You don't need to come back to your prison.
Absolutely. The way I see that's kind of like that prison is the ego that we construct throughout our lives to, survive, in a sense, is why it's there. But eventually we identify as that ego. We think we're that ego, and that becomes our cage. And we forget, just like Hanuman, that we are these divine beings with unlimited potential. And once we remember and bring our awareness to realize, oh, hey, I'm not this cage. I'm limitless. My body is not who I am. I am the everything. Right? And once we realize that, our potential becomes unlocked. The physical, mental, everything. And I felt that very recently, and it felt beautiful. And just like that bird, I got a glimpse of it, and it was very hard to hold. It was very powerful, and I felt like I came right back. And I feel like through meditating, the more you do it, the more used to holding that energy and holding that space you get. And eventually, that's kind of the goal. Is, you know, we prepare the body, we prepare the mind to allow that spirit to flow through. And, you know, the more we do it, the better we get at doing it. The less scared, the more surrender, the more focus, and the more relaxation we can instill in our body. And we can carry that outside of the meditation. And I feel like that's really the goal, where, you know, some people think that, you know, you're just meditating whatever you do. It's a kind of meditation, I feel like. You know, like I can meditate while I'm blowing glass or doing martial arts. But I feel like very intentional meditation, when you sit, still everything, still the mind, relax the body, and concentrate everything laser sharp, that something happens, that it's very hard to put words to it. That feeling, when you experience it, it changes you. It makes you want to seek it more. And the more you seek it, the more you do it, the more powerful it gets. And then it starts transforming your entire life, everything around you, and it starts pulling the things you need, creating things you need out of surrendering to yourself, your energy, and allowing that to guide you, rather than that ego, that thought, that mind you've trained, that sometimes will put fear into your thoughts or jealousy and then lead you astray from that surrender. Interesting.
Yeah, that's it. And when we practice in meditation, then we learn how to apply that to whatever it is that we're doing. That's what I love about it, is practicing focus in meditation and then applying that same focus to painting or anything physical that we're doing. The more that we can put our attention 100% onto what we're doing, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so that seems to be the key to everything. So if we can learn to do it in the peaceful, quiet meditation, then we can apply it even to, say, somebody that is criticizing us or being rude to us, or somebody cuts you off in traffic. You have that space to, all right, I've practiced calmness in the peace. Can I have calmness when it's not peaceful? Can I have calmness when somebody is yelling at me, or somebody is saying something to me that's not true, or, you know, things like that? And we learn that's a superpower that you can have, that most people on the planet don't have that ability to just be able to be calm and centered. And that is, I feel like that's what, you know, we see the example of a Jedi. In the midst of anything, they're always calm.
Yeah.
They lose that center, that balance, and they're prone to fear.
That's where the dark side comes in. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And that's kind of like a cornerstone of self-defense, in my perspective, where if you don't have that internal peace and there's chaos coming at you, you're going to escalate a situation. Something's going to get reflected back. You know, you identify with their feelings, and then it just elevates the situation. Where if we can, like you're always saying in the meditation, stay calm, even in the midst of breaking worlds, during the most chaotic moments, to remain calm. It's beyond hard to do, but that practice, it allows you to handle any situation better and more purely, rather than being compromised by the emotions. You're it's more pure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes life a practice, It's like, oh, all right, I didn't get it that time. I gave into, I got caught off guard. And life will test you. It's like, as soon as you think you got it down, it's going to
Right.
hit you with something that like it tests you in a new way. And then also when life challenges come and something really tricky hits you, I like to even now is be like, oh, when I'm in my center, things like this happen. It's like, we talk about like the universe as our mother. It's only giving you things that are good for you, even if it doesn't look like it's good for you. And she only gives you things that she trusts you with. Like, you can handle this, son. I'm going to give you this thing that's really hard, but it's going to actually be in your benefit. And so I like to have a practice too of like, thank you for thinking that I could handle that, when it's really tough.
Yeah.
And then stepping up to the challenge of it. And then that way, everything in life becomes like a game. We know that we have what it takes. So we know that it's not up to us. We can put our trust into something outside of us to guide us.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to ever be afraid of a situation. It's like, okay, my divine mother thinks I can handle this. I'm going to tune into my center and seek for, if I stay calm, I know that guidance will come to me. And so life will just actually keep throwing you harder and harder challenges, like a video game.
Yeah.
And they're just like, all right, this is what I signed up for. And it just, rather than being like, this shouldn't be happening, and then, just letting it spiral and turning to something negative.
So that defeats you. Yeah. Yeah. And, for a good example was, this past weekend we were at Loveburn. I had a great time, and then Sunday came around, I think 11 a.m. Large rainstorm. It rained for, I think, 24 hours. We got this much rain on the ground up to our ankles. There was canopies flying all over the place. And, I was looking at it like, this is like a movie right now. This is hilarious. It sucks, but this is hilarious. You got canopies flying over here. Everyone's walking in like 3 feet of water.
Yeah.
It was madness, but it made the situation beautiful to remove myself and say, this is only temporary. We can handle this. It's not the end of the world. And it was a little fun if we approached it the right way, if you looked at it the right way. So you can turn the worst situation into maybe something fun and enjoyable, and bring about that bliss into the harshest moments, where it's allowing you to that calmness, not to freak out, and not resisting the surrender, and knowing that you will be able to handle, you will be able to do the right thing. And the freaking out is that fear, the ego. We're afraid of something that isn't even here yet, that may not even happen. But in this moment, if we're calm, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, it's like, what is right in front of you in the moment? Do your best. Stay even-minded and cheerful. Then you're fun to be around. Like if you're around other people that are like, all right, whatever happens, we're gonna enjoy it as much as possible, and we're gonna do our best, and let it all be okay.
Yeah.
I love being around people like that. I mean, if you're joining up with a team to collaborate with, like make that your code when you start. Like whatever happens, like my brother and I, when we paint together, that's our mantra of like, when we're doing something, if something goes wrong, it's like, oh, we don't look at it as wrong. It's like something better is looking to happen here, or this is happening for a good reason that I don't know quite yet. And you just don't even get down about it or upset about it. And obviously, bigger and bigger things hit you, and you don't always get it right. But if you start with that, and you have an environment of other friends that also like looking at life like it's so much easier when you're around. That's why I think like community is so important. Getting around an environment of others that also like to share this way of living and enjoying life. And Yogananda talks about life as a movie. We should look at our lives as a movie. And that if you think about the kind of movies that you like to watch, especially like if you like watching martial arts videos or movies or whatever, or like a epic story, it's always wrought with terrible tragedy, violence and action and ups and downs and sadness and sweetness and excitement and happy. And it's like, that's what life is. And that's what if you had a movie that didn't have any of those things, it would be super boring and you wouldn't ever watch movies.
Yeah.
So apparently that's what humans like, is change. And I think it also applies to where we're headed in this world that we're in right now. It's one that's changing so rapidly. So many jobs are becoming displaced by technology, and there's just uncertainty around the economy and where things are going, and coming wars and all of this. It could be, if we look at it in the same way that you approach being at a festival and it starts raining, you can, as we practice meditation, it can be training for the apocalypse. It could be training for whatever comes. Like when you say like you should be preparing for whatever happens, I don't think it means making a bunker necessarily. Maybe. I mean, it's good to be prepared for whatever, have food or things like that in case you need it. But I'm preparing your mind so that you can draw to yourself what you need when you need it.
Exactly.
So you can stay calm no matter what happens. And then making a symbiotic relationship in the times now, making a symbiotic relationship with the universe around you. And trusting that it's here to, always what's happening is here to help you become the best version of yourself. And
Absolutely.
I think that's the best prepping that we can do for whatever comes,
Yeah, because that's the one thing you can't get rid of. Like we have this body to use to achieve our life goal, our dharma, right? And oftentimes our biggest obstacles become ourselves, where, whatever we've dealt with in our life has trained our brain to think a specific way. There's these new scientific research that I've been looking into where meditation has been proved to rewrite the pathways in your brain, where it literally will reroute how you're thinking in that one, microsecond, maybe minute, 2 minutes, 20 minutes that you get, where you still the brain and you're not thinking about anything else. You're fully in this moment. It rewrites how you're thinking and strengthens more positive pathways in the brain, and it starts changing how you're perceiving things, how you're treating people, how you're thinking about yourself. And then, 2, 3, 4 months, a year, 2 years later, you are so transformed just through the simple act of meditation. It sounds ridiculous because you're just sitting here and concentrating and relaxing. But, our brains are trained to just doing all that. That's what they're good at. But when we still it, you train it to become still. And when it's still, it reflects a lot easier. It's like looking at a glass lake where everything becomes easier to see. Decision making, you become less impacted by strength of emotion, overpowering emotion, where you can look at it, like you were saying, that space in between where you feel something and you react. You're able to see it and say, oh, I can stay calm. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to be, overwhelmed. I can breathe and let this moment be, in the case of like self-defense, where let's say you're in danger, you want to get away, you want to run away. And that presence may allow you to properly handle that situation better, where if you're overwhelmed, that fear, maybe you turn around and you run into a wall and you can knock yourself out. And there's so many different situations in life where calmness benefits you no matter what you're doing, whether it's cooking, cleaning, martial arts, painting, dancing, music. I had a very powerful experience Saturday night. I spent fire and I was feeling very overwhelmed at the moment. And one of my friends came up to me and was like, hey, do you know any breath work that we can do to like really clear ourselves out? And we sat down and we did the skull shining breath, just a really powerful, clearing breath. And then afterwards we meditated. And I sat there and we were on chairs, everybody else was fire spinning, and we were just meditating. Nothing, none of the sounds, nothing. It was a very chaotic environment. It didn't affect us. We stayed calm and we were able to really focus on our meditation. And then we felt bliss. I almost cried. It was so beautiful. And then I got up, I grabbed my staff, and it was just complete relaxation. I started spinning fire. And it was probably the purest, rawest, also intense fire spinning I'd ever done, where I wasn't like trying to move the staff with my muscles. I was surrendering, letting the beat guide me. And it was beautiful, it was powerful, and it was magical. Just surrendering. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. If we can get into those moments, that's where the true genius of any sort of artistic practice or any martial arts execution, it's in its highest form when we're not thinking about doing it, we're just doing it and it's just coming through us. And I got obsessed with watching lucha libre, masked Mexican wrestlers. I was doing a lot of artwork around that some years back. And I just became fascinated by watching these guys and learning that really they just get into these flow states. You imagine so if you've seen a lucha libre, it's very acrobatic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it is just using the force, really. And you imagine you're wearing this mask, you just have these little holes that you barely can see out of. And you're standing on the top of the turnbuckle, and they don't even look, and then double, flipping back and landing on their opponent. Oh. And it's just like, I just became so fascinated with that superhuman ability that they were tapping into, and this ability to do that. And seeing these guys that were doing it in like little venues for no money and putting their lives on the line, I was like, there's something super special here. That I think is just so cool. And I've realized a lot of them really had like a spiritual connection with what they were doing. And I love that. Yeah, especially if you think about in a situation where you're being confronted, it'll probably really throw off your attacker in a self-defense situation where if somebody comes at you looking to rob you and you're just looking at them completely calm,
Yeah.
And you're like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Like that will throw somebody off. Yeah. And I think that's when you see the stormtroopers and then they're just, see the Jedi and so their brain doesn't even know what to do with where that someone's not mirroring that rage or whatever. Obviously, that's probably not going to work on everybody, but you'll at least be able to, if you're calm in the moment. I like to think of it like as if you were playing a strategy video game, that there is a solution to the problem that you're being confronted with in every moment. But if we're agitated, angry, afraid, we're saying this shouldn't be happening, then we're not looking for the solution. But if we're calm, I like to think that there is a solution in every single moment. And so if we stay calm and then we're asking for guidance, what should I do at this point? Or I like to just chant Rama, or before I could chant Rama, I would say love. So in any situation, don't know what to do, just love, saying love in your mind. Because there's always two choices, love or fear. And if you're saying love, and you're seeing the person in front of you who's maybe trying to rob you or whatever they're trying to do, that's a soul that's just lost its way. It's also you, and that oneness kind of an idea. You don't see yourself as like, I'm being attacked. It's like, I'm looking at another soul here and just chanting love and looking at them. And then maybe the solution will come to mind, or something to say that will derail what's happening, or you see an opportunity just to put them in a, a headlock or something like that, where they just get that moment or whatever it is the best thing to do in that moment.
You're open to receive what needs to be done. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's in the sculpture I did at Loveburn. It's called the Beast's Cage. It represents the cage of your ego, the self-imposed cage of the ego. And on the back, there's each emotion that you deal with represented by each chakra. And the crown chakra I have on the back is attachments and faith, where we have these attachments to physical things, people, the relationships we have with people, and we get attached to them, and they lead us to really bad decisions oftentimes, where we're so attached it compromises us. Where I feel like in the example you just gave, the surrender, letting go of the attachment and surrendering the faith we have in ourselves to let that solution come in, and knowing that we can do the right thing, but not letting the emotion, the fear overcome us. That's everything else we deal with, the other chakras, the root chakra, fear, and all the other emotions. That when we get to the attachment, like, nobody wants to die, but we prepare ourselves to die, and we're ready for it so that we can handle any of these moments correctly, because that fear is real. The rejection we feel from other people is real. When somebody we care about doesn't listen to us or speaks badly about us, all of those feelings, they can become very overpowering, and we're attached to these things, and that attachment leads us to feeling these negative feelings. And if we realize, hey, maybe they're dealing with something, we don't know, but we connect with the love, and we send love their way, that will help them and de-escalate that situation. I feel like that's kind of what you're saying. Yeah.
And you can even do that from a distance as a magical act that it makes practical sense too if you think about it. Like if you're in a relationship or with somebody, any relationship, could be work environment, a friend, a partner, anybody that maybe you're having a difficult relationship with, difficult period with, that what happens is normally what we do, automatically we start to argue with them in our minds. We start to think about all the things we don't like about them. And maybe it's a good friend of ours that we really like, but all of a sudden we're just thinking of only their terrible qualities and the things we don't like about them and what they did to us or what they said to us or what they should do. And we get caught in this loop of doing that. So of course, when we go see them, we just pick up right where our mind left off. We're giving that energy, they reflect it back at us, self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, they are just like I thought they were. But as a magical act, what you can do, and this is really hard, really simple, but it's really hard to put into practice. What you do is whenever that person comes into your mind, you just think about all of their good qualities. Anything good about them, you just do it. You resist the automatic tendency to think about the negativity and just think about anything that you can pull out that's maybe good. Oh, they're stylish. They have, if it's really hard, like they're into good music or whatever it is, they're a good parent or things like that. And you just keep thinking about the good things about them relentlessly. And then
you think about some time they helped you.
Yeah, pull up those good memories that you might have with them. And then when you see them, it might immediately dissolve that and you have a better interaction, but they might come back at you and still, attack you again with words or whatever. But you just take a breath and you don't respond in the negative way again. You do, and then when you leave, you just keep thinking about their good thoughts. And in that moment, if you can take a breath and say something nice back to somebody who's saying something rude to you, it can dissolve that, and you can become. It's like a magical thing. And I know when I started practicing, that's what happened to me. It almost like stirred it up and made it. It tests you.
Yeah.
Can you still stay calm? Can you still think of the good things about them? But it will work in a pretty quick amount of time if you practice that.
I've experienced that where I feel like these things we hang on to, like, the things people do to us that we don't like, that affects us, traumatize us, like when we hang on to that, it does us zero good. And like we can learn from it. We can put ourselves in their shoes to try to understand it, to forgive them. And like the second we take that and we revert it back, I feel like we create this karma cycle that's just never ending. We're gonna push onto them, they're gonna push onto us. And if we don't take responsibility to calm ourselves, to let whatever they're feeling, they can send it to us, but we don't have to accept it. I think there was Paga Rinpoche, it was a Buddhist monk who said this. It was a story where Buddha was meditating and there was this very jealous, I don't know if he was a monk or just a person, and they started shouting at the Buddha for hours and just throwing hate and anger and insults. And a few hours later, this person was exhausted. And they asked the Buddha, it was like, I've been insulting you. You haven't gotten angry. You haven't responded. Why? And the Buddha said, if, let's say, I have a box of oranges and I give you the box of oranges, but you don't take them, whose oranges are they? And he was like, yours. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing with your anger. You're giving me your anger, but I'm not taking them. So it's still your anger. You're keeping your anger. Mm-hmm. And the guy was exhausted by the end, and the Buddha was just in bliss, happy. And then the guy apologized and realized that, they're doing more disservice to themselves, inside of themselves, by letting that anger come out. They're reinforcing that neural pathways. They're inflating that emotion. They're creating a stronger connection with that emotion. And it's really disservicing them. And the Buddha just didn't accept it. And if you don't accept it, it can't reach you, that energy at least. Maybe the physical harm might be able to if they took it that far, but if someone calls me a shithead, I don't have to, okay, well, that's your viewpoint. I'm not a shithead that I think of, and I maintain that integrity within myself. I don't have to accept their insult. I don't have to have an emotional response. I can go on about my life and not let that affect it. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's especially hard the closer somebody is to us. Mm-hmm. Like some people, especially like really good friends and partners, we start to get to know the person and how to push their buttons, and that becomes really hard. And in those moments, that becomes critical in allowing that emotion to flow and not letting it compromise us.
And feeling like we have to defend ourselves or something like that. Like, I have to defend myself against this attack, like instead of the Buddha just not receiving that. And if somebody is saying something to you that maybe it has a little truth to it and it stings even more, like, okay, what they're saying, you're right, I shouldn't have done that. And having the calmness to tell somebody, you're right. Mm-hmm. And I'll do better. And like, I love that about, say, like a Japanese martial artist. It's like we watch a lot of like Japanese wrestling, somebody will, like on, say, Twitter, somebody is critiquing the way that they did a slap or a move or something like that. And if it's a master that's saying that to them, they say like, sorry, sensei, I'll do better. Like that idea of just always saying, and that's the way to actually dissolve your ego too, because that's what we're wanting to do. So if somebody is bringing us something and criticizing us, and you're just saying, you know what, you're right, and I'll do better next time, then the ego just gets more and more dissolved, and we become actually more powerful as a spiritual being.
And it's counterintuitive, where we don't think that's actually going to happen, where we're like, our ego wants to fight back, and we want to look all mighty, but like reacting that way is just, it's not going to do you any good. Mm-hmm. It's making you look
proving their point,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right. But in the moment, that's what we feel like, we're defending it, but we're actually just proving them right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like our meditation really helps empower these actions and dealing with those situations correctly. And like you were talking about the deities, their stories, the energies they hold, bringing them into your meditation, into certain moments, can help you deal with certain situations. And especially the stories, and really reading and learning and taking that wisdom and then applying it to certain moments, we can de-escalate and handle situations better. And I feel like that's really one of the lacking elements in a lot of martial arts schools, where they'll go out there, they'll train punching and kicking, but they'll forget about the emotions, the mind, and training the depths of what really controls you into distilling that into peace and calmness. And you can't overestimate the importance of it and how impactful it can be in every aspect of your life.
Yeah. It seems like such a powerful component. Or if you think I love thinking about like astronauts, the way they select an astronaut. Of course, you have to have the mathematics and the training and the knowledge of everything, but above and beyond that, it's those who can be very calm in really difficult situations and be able to use all of the knowledge and skill that they have, because once we lose our calmness, all of that kind of goes out the window. Or like in a fight, in a ring, you have a game plan, you have all of the skills, the knowledge, the ability, but then if you lose that, your opponent rattles you with an insult, or then you forget all of your training.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter how much you've learned before, because now you're just making mistakes. And so I think it's really powerful. And then we can also become meditation. Like this weekend, I'm going to be joining an ayahuasca ceremony. Yeah. And I like ayahuasca because it's a training for becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is a slogan that's actually this pro wrestler Malachi Black and his wife Zelina. My brother and I painted. They have a Muay Thai and pro wrestling school and gym.
Yes, I saw those videos. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to paint the deities inside that space. And then we did plaques that are associated with the deities about the way that you can channel the power and the energy and the qualities and the lessons of those deities into your training practice. And one of the slogans that Tom Budge and Malachi Black had us paint was become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And ayahuasca really can help you do that, because you are purposefully drinking this brew that tastes unlike anything you've ever had. It just tastes awful, and you also get a sense of, you get an association with the brew, because it also it's a cleansing medicine. So it makes you feel deathly ill.
Yeah.
So, it causes you to vomit, and most of the times you'll vomit. Maybe get diarrhea really bad, but it's part of it is cleansing you out.
Yeah.
Every orifice cleansing you out, right? And you sit all night, stay awake all night. You're in the elements. Maybe there's mosquitoes. Probably this weekend it's going to be cold, and you stay up, all the way till the morning, and you keep drinking this brew throughout the night, and you got to keep going back and get another cup and sit again. And you sit with yourself, and yourself is going to bring up things that maybe you've been, dusting under the rug for years, and it's just confronting you with them and giving you a space to be able to face them head on and to dissolve those things. And so I love that practice and I think that really applies with any martial arts training. You're going through something that's super, super hard and maybe painful and challenging, but that's what we came here for.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
It's cool because it's hard.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
And you get so much out of doing hard things. And also meditation, as you do it more and more, you probably notice, and like the Bhagavad Gita is a story of a battle. And as you become more and more sincere with meditation practice, that story of the battle scene, like in the Bhagavad Gita, starts to become what you're doing in your life, in your meditation. You're being confronted with these inner enemies that are perhaps, and so in like the Bhagavad Gita, the idea is this: Arjuna, the great warrior, he was trained by his, his teachers and his friends and his family members. They were all once his friends. And in the battle scene is when they all actually turn against him, and they are fighting against Dharma. They're fighting against goodness, and he's the upholder of Dharma and goodness. And so in the story, he's confronted to have to actually take out his bow and destroy those friends, those old teachers that have turned against him. And it's just like in meditation, where we become confronted with all those former guardians. Maybe when we were younger, we were in an abusive household, and we had to like create this protective guardian that maybe made us give us a chip on our shoulder, maybe made us not trust people, but we did it to protect ourselves. And then as we get older, we no longer need that guardian. In meditation, those things come up, and then we feel like, I can't kill that part of me. That's who I am. This is the way that I am, and it feels like you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why it's that ego death
Ego death,
idea.
yeah.
You actually know. So, Krishna says, no, you have to take out your bow and kill that version of yourself.
And that's his dharma. Like that's his life purpose, is to uphold dharma. And to accept that allows you to do what needs to be done. In that case, if Arjuna hadn't done that, the world would be in a very different place. Like, the people who betrayed him would have won. But, he approached it from not trying to destroy something, but trying to uphold good, uphold the righteousness. And, from what I've understood of the story is that, he didn't go out attacking somebody. He didn't go out trying to start a war. He didn't even want to fight. He almost gave up. And then Krishna showed him that this was what he needed to do in order for things to be right. And it's sometimes hard to make those decisions, but when we surrender and let go of the demons we've created within ourselves, we can then do what's right. And sometimes that may be difficult, but it may be what needs to be done. And we can only know that by surrendering to our higher selves and not being led by the constant chatter that we're always thinking. Because that'll lead us astray. That'll lead us to the emotions, the fear, the future, which isn't here. Yeah.
Yeah, and we get so attached to those things that we think that's what we are. This is who I am. This is my personality. Sorry, this is just the way that I am. People say that, but it's like, that's not true.
It's just an excuse we tell ourselves.
Yeah. So like it's so powerful to be able to learn that we don't have to just be a victim of our circumstances, that we actually can change and grow, and to realize that also everything that's happened to us in our life up to this point has been chiseling us into the perfect person to do a certain work in our life. So maybe tragic things that happen to us give us the opportunity to connect with another person who's going through that. We already went through it. We're still standing. We can offer so much support and wisdom to somebody in that. So like, even if something looks bad, it's not necessarily bad. And so all of these things just help us to like go through life with gratitude for even the things that we wished weren't happening. And it makes it into so much more fun to live life that way.
Absolutely. And going back to your point about ayahuasca, I feel like helps you see those things, right? It's like almost like Ganesh, where it removes that obstacle. It removes that thing that's in the way of you going in the right direction. And it frees up that pathway of equilibrium, of awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like the deities like Ganesh, to be able to, it's not like I really believe that there is a, four-armed elephant in the sky that I'm talking to. But for thousands of years, and maybe far beyond that, people have been using this symbol as a way to give form to a eternal reality that exists. And all of the fact that he's got an elephant head, the symbols that are in his hands, like the axe and the noose and the lotus flower, and the symbol, the mudra that he's holding there. All of these things are just symbolically helping us because we're humans and we have these brains that it makes it easier to have a relationship with something if it has a face and a name and a personality.
Yeah.
So it helps us to relate with the universe around us, and to, when we need it, say, Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. So I've got this obstacle in my life that I would like to overcome. So you have a conversation with really yourself. You have a conversation with the universe and say, I would like to overcome this obstacle. I know that this obstacle is here for my benefit, and I know if I overcome it, my powers will become stronger. I won't be crushed by them. And so it's just a way and it's such a colorful, fun way to experience life. I see it as just like inviting these friends to be with me all the time. And really that's the nature of this world that we're in. We do have all of these allies. We're not really alone ever. We have ancestors, we have perhaps divine entities that are here with us, guiding us, giving us wisdom, wanting us to succeed, wanting us to learn to be happy, wanting us to learn how to love and become more compassionate so that we can just enjoy life. Those are all around us. They say that this world that we live in, that we're only really experiencing a small, tiny little fraction of it with our senses, and what actually really is here. They call it dark matter. 95 or whatever % of the universe is dark matter.
Yeah.
So all of that dark matter that we can't necessarily see or feel, or maybe we can feel it, we can sense it. We learn how to become sensitive to it. But those things are all there. So this just gives us a way to give it a form and a personality and a name that we can talk to and relate to, and really just a lot of fun.
You're calling in that vibration to help guide you. Yeah.
And that's how the guru relationship works. So I'm a disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, and having an image of Yogananda and the masters there, that I like to think of them as graduates of the school of life. That have graduated, and they know they've aced all of the tests. They have moved on to freedom, but they come back. Just like when we graduate and we go back to our university and we give a lecture on what we've learned, and here's how I got through it.
Yeah.
Those masters are available to us, and the spiritual path or seeking things in life is eventually your guru will show up when you're ready to open your heart to that idea. You become spiritually adventurous enough to tune into these realities, and then like a guru, once you have a guru in your life, being able to just turn to that guru whenever you need advice. You're in a difficult situation, and then that becomes available, which is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
At Fera Academy, we believe every person has unlimited potential waiting to be unleashed. Join our academy and discover your inner power through disciplines like Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, martial arts weapons, and more. Our experienced instructors empower you with the skills, strength, and wisdom to become an unstoppable warrior. Train in a focused, inclusive environment where you'll progress quickly. Learn meditation, nutrition, and breathing techniques to develop a balanced body, mind, and spirit. Uncover your true potential and prepare for life's challenges at Fera Academy. Start your journey. Visit feraacademy.com today.
Would you like to do a short meditation?
Yeah, we can do a meditation here with everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Tuning
I'd love
in.
that.
Just about, maybe we'll do about 15 minutes. I'll grab a timer just so I have a sense of the time.
So for the meditation, ideally you want to be seated with your back away from the back of the chair. If you're driving, I highly recommend pulling over and not doing this while driving.
Yeah, so yeah, we're just sitting in a chair, and you can totally use a chair at home, and it's really all just about getting your back in a straight line, your head parallel to the floor. And we have our, yeah, like we said, palms are upturned at the junction of the legs and the torso. And I'll begin just with a little invocation, a short prayer here to invite Spirit to be with us. And so tune in here with us, closing the eyes, lifting the gaze to the point between the eyebrows, and just opening with an invocation. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, dearest friend, beloved God, great masters of self-realization, great saints and sages of all traditions, humbly we invoke your presence and bow before you all. Make us like you. Attune us with your consciousness and magnetize our molecules with your magnetic presence. Divine Mother, awaken your love in us and teach us to awaken that love in all. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace. Amen. And to begin now, let us just take in a normal deep inhalation, breathing in and all the way out. And now, double inhale and tense all the muscles in the body. Inhale. Tensing all the muscles in a low, medium, high, vibrate with willingness, and exhale. Relax, release, feel. Again, inhale and tense. Low, medium, high, vibrate with willingness, and exhale. Relax, release, feel. Last round, inhale and tense. Tensing all the muscles in a low, medium, high, vibrate, and exhale. Relax, release, feel, just letting all of that tension dissolve. And now let's do a few rounds of measured breathing. We're going to be inhaling to a count of 6, holding to a count of 6, and then exhaling to a count of 6. So let's go ahead and take in a normal deep inhalation, breathing in, and all the way out. And now, very slowly through the nostrils, inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Last round. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. And breathing normally, just letting the breath come and go naturally, as if it were waves on the seashore, simply coming and going. And as you breathe, begin to feel the breath in the nostrils, noticing that on the inhalation, the breath is a bit cool, and on the exhalation, slightly warm. Zooming in with all of the awareness, just to feel the cool and warm sensations of the breath coming and going from the nostrils. Becoming more and more relaxed with each breath. And now let us move this sensation and the feeling of the breath up from the nostrils, up to the bridge of the nose, where the nose meets the skull. Feel now that the cool and warm sensations of the breath are coming and going from the bridge of the nose. And as you become more and more relaxed with each breath, let us now move this sensation up again, just slightly this time, to the point between the eyebrows, the spiritual eye. Feel now that the cool and warm sensations of the breath are coming and going from the spiritual eye, and lifting our gaze up to this point so that we have a single pointed focus at the point between the eyebrows. Noticing that on the inhalation, the breath is a bit cool, and on the exhalation, slightly warm. To get this point between the eyebrows, you can imagine that you're standing on the shore of the ocean, seeing the horizon line of the ocean there. And just lift your gaze just above the horizon and keep your gaze laser focused at this point, and just feeling the breath coming and going from the spiritual eye. And as you become more and more relaxed, you may notice that the breath becomes shorter, and the pauses between breaths become longer. Just simply enjoy these pauses between breaths, feeling the cool sensation on the inhale, slightly warm on the exhale. Keeping our gaze laser focused at this point between the eyebrows, let us now call on the divine to come to aid us, knowing that the divine is always here to help and always interested in helping us to become more calm, more sweet, and more happy in our life. So with our gaze uplifted to the point between the eyebrows, let us become childlike. Yogananda tells us that one of the sweetest and simplest ways that we can approach the infinite is to become like children, enthusiastic and interested, and that we can see the divine as our divine mother, our ideal mother, who loves us, who cares about us, who knows us, who can feel you. So with the gaze uplifted at the point between the eyebrows, with this childlike feeling in our hearts, use this mental mantra, sending it out through the point between the eyebrows, which Yogananda tells us is like a mental microphone or a spiritual broadcasting station. So with our gaze uplifted to the point between the eyebrows, mentally send out this mantra from that point. Reveal thyself. Reveal thyself. Reveal thyself. Reveal thyself. Begin to feel a vibration, a sensation, anything that you can feel now in your heart center. Begin to feel that vibration, that sensation growing stronger and stronger and stronger. Feel that it is now sending rippling waves of energy throughout your body. Tingling waves of well-being filling the body. A sense of relief coming over you. Allowing everything to be okay just as it is. Knowing that everything that comes to us in life is here not to crush us but to strengthen our powers. To help us to become the best version of ourselves. Begin to notice that this feeling in the heart center has a quality. That this feeling in the heart center has a quality of peace. A peace that passes all understanding. It's like the peace of the night sky. The peace of vast space in all directions. Yogananda tells us that God's body is space. And that if we want to know God, then we should feel the infinite space within the body and the infinite space all around us. Begin to feel and imagine that there are 1,000,000 miles of expanding clear space to your left. 1,000,000 miles of expanding clear space to your right. 1,000,000 miles of expanding clear space behind you. 1,000,000 miles of clear, unobstructed, expanding space in front of you. 1,000,000 miles of clear, expanding space below you. And 1,000,000 miles of clear, unobstructed space above you. You are floating in infinite space, and you are center everywhere, circumference nowhere. Feel that infinite space all around you. So often we bottle up our consciousness in the littleness of the body. But if we allow it to expand, we feel the peace of space. Enjoying this expanded consciousness, keeping our gaze uplifted at the point between the eyebrows, savoring this feeling. Knowing that we are in contact with our Divine Mother right now in this moment. Continue to send out the mantra, reveal thyself. Reveal thyself. Right now, in this moment, reveal thyself. Beginning to feel that the heart center now is like a lotus bud. And that lotus bud is opening its petals and turning upwards to receive the light of the sun that is pouring into its petals. That light is pouring down, shimmering golden light into your heart center. And that light is becoming brighter and brighter and brighter, and so bright that the edges of your body have blurred with the infinite space and light around you in all directions. There is only light and space now. Beginning to feel that this vibration, this sensation in the heart center is transformed. That this feeling in the heart center is becoming one of calmness. And calmness differs from peace because calmness is dynamic. That we can feel and attune with this calmness in an unpeaceful world. That we can practice feeling this calmness in our piece of meditation, and then we can learn to invoke it anytime, anywhere, and everywhere. This refuge of calmness is always with us. When we learn to feel this calmness, we can feel calmness no matter what is happening in the world around us, no matter what anyone is saying to us, so that no failure, no disappointment, no misunderstanding from others can take away this calmness from us. It is our superpower, our refuge. Yogananda tells us that calmness is invincibility, and that with calmness we can stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. Recognize this power of calmness that we have. In recognition of this calmness, we are beginning to connect with Sat Chit Ananda. Consciousness, truth, bliss. Connecting with this bliss, we begin to feel this vibration, this sensation, this light growing stronger, enveloping us in this blissful feeling, this blissful quality of Sat Chit Ananda, which Yogananda describes as ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And when we feel this bliss within us, this light within us, we can share and bless our loved ones and the world around us with this blissful vibration. Begin to feel a smile spreading across your heart, a smile spreading across your throat, a smile spreading across your mouth, and a smile spreading across your brow. And now let us share this healing light with the world around us. Begin to imagine and feel that this light has emanated out from the heart and filled the room that you're in. The light has emanated out from the room into the house or the building that you're in. This light is emanating out from the building into the streets, into the neighborhood, into the city that you're in. This light is expanding now to cover the entire state or province that you're in, so that all receptive hearts are feeling nourished. This light is expanding exponentially, covering the entire country, filling your country with more peace, more calmness, more wisdom, more love and bliss. This light is expanding to cover the oceans, purifying the waters, the air, and now all countries are bathed in this light. Anywhere on this planet where there are those who are suffering, where people are afraid, where people are in pain, where beings are either cold or hungry, see them being nourished by this light and see this calmness coming over them, a peace that passes all understanding, a refuge of calmness and grace. We are one with the entire universe. Uplift yourself and uplift the world. See Mother Earth now as she floats in space, wrapped in iridescent rainbow light. This rainbow light is swirling around Mother Earth and healing our planet and all of the beings on this planet. Joining together, joining our palms in front of us, let us join together with the Divine Mother and send this healing energy at the speed of light in all directions, and repeating this prayer out loud after me. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Thou art omnipresent.
Thou art omnipresent.
Thou art in all thy children.
Thou art in all thy children.
Manifest thy healing presence.
Manifest thy healing presence.
In all bodies.
In all bodies.
Minds. And souls.
And souls.
Rubbing the palms together. Feeling this warm magnetic energy in the palms. We're going to raise our palms and chant Om together 3 times as we send this light out to fill the universe. Taking in a deep breath. Palms up. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace. Amen. Joy to you, friends.
Thank you for that. That was beautiful. I appreciate that. Yeah. That was very peaceful. I didn't feel like I was here for about like 3 minutes there.
Yeah, it's nice with meditation is it's really okay to take breaks from your life, take breaks from all of the things that you've been struggling with, thinking about, projects that you've been working on, relationships, all of it. It's so wonderful just to be able to press pause on that movie, go inward, feel those divine qualities that are always available to us as long as we receive them. So
Absolutely. And for everyone who enjoyed that, you do an online meditation on Instagram on Tuesday at 8 p.m. What's your Instagram handle? It's just Palehorse, right?
This one, so that one is on Seekers of the Eternal. So at Seekers of the Eternal on Instagram for the guided meditations, which are about 30 minutes, and it's a little group gathering. I kind of share some inspirations from my week, and then we do about 20 minutes of the same meditation here. And it's a nice way to be able to also feel that you are making an impact on the world around you, psychically blessing your friends, psychically blessing the areas who are in trouble around the world, that we can feel like we are one with the universe, we are connected, and we can become channels and warriors of light here on earth. Perhaps those of us who are interested in these kind of things, perhaps we took birth during this time, during this shake-up period in the world's history, to be able to be here, to be channels for our friends, for people around the world. And I feel like that's my calling, is to be able to do that and to join together with others who like to do this. And so I love to share that on Instagram. And then for my artwork, at Palehorse Design, or at Palehorse is the other Instagram for the artwork and the murals and all of that. And then I also have a link there for my Patreon account for the Hanuman project, which is going to be you can follow along with the artwork creation process, where I'm creating 77 highly detailed illustrations of the life of Hanuman that will eventually, when the project, however long it takes to complete this, will eventually become a deck of oracle cards.
Yes.
So that when you have questions in your life, you're looking for guidance, you want to connect with this ancient scripture and these ancient deities, get centered and set your intentions, shuffle the deck, pull cards, and then receive messages from your higher self.
That's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so with that, I'll be sharing other meditations along with that, a lot of storytelling, in behind the scenes artwork creation. So that's the Patreon that's in the link tree there.
And you also have a link to your website where the people can get the t-shirts and bandanas, and your socks, the stickers, amazing artwork. Yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, screen prints of deities and things on there. So yeah, that's a good way if you can. Like, it helps to support this mission that I'm on now that I've left the client work behind and
that's a big move.
Pursuing this. You know, it helps me to really put into practice all these things I'm saying that I'm working on, to trust the universe, to give it all I've got, and to trust that it's gonna show the way. So
absolutely, yeah. And if you're ever in St. Petersburg, you can go to Roots to Crown on Wednesday at 8 p.m. or Palehorse also leads a meditation in person. If you're ever in St. Pete, don't miss it. It is phenomenal. Caroline and I always go to his meditation on Wednesdays when we're here. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
Had a blast.
Yeah. And if you all have any questions, leave some comments. We can try to answer them on future episodes, and best. Also, before we go, if you want to see anything about Non the Village, or where they can find more information on that.
Yeah, that's if you like these practices, is some of the things that we're talking about. My teachers, I always like to share them. So ananda.org is where you can find that. They have so many great free resources. They have a free meditation app You can learn Yogananda's energization exercises as well. They have free courses. There's also a course on there, the Inner Renewal Week, that they just released for free this week, of master yogis, some of the, I would call it like the World Cup of yogis that show up there and teach guided meditations and do new classes there. So ananda.org is a great place for all those meditation resources.
Yeah. I took their introductory meditation course. I took it twice because the first time I got maybe to week 6 and then life happened. So I took it again to really absorb the material and the depth of detail in the course and the difference it makes applying those details in your meditation is, I can't describe how important it is, because, you know, you learn how to meditate and then you kind of end up going on your own and these little bad habits start creeping in. And the way that they teach it, it really tells you how important each one of these steps are, how you sit, how you breathe, where you put your focus, and doing them, especially how you're taught, it's like preparing everything to then launch forward. And if you don't prepare everything, you don't get to launch. So I think it's really beneficial course that really took my meditation practice to the next level.
Yeah, I like to think of it, since it's a martial arts podcast, I like to think about it as you start out with get your white belt. Even if you've been meditating, because I had been dabbling in meditation for about 8 years, but I really appreciated going back to the basics, how to sit, just getting my white belt again. You know, I never got that. I never had a teacher. I was just kind of going in on my own. So yeah, having that like scientific, well practiced, you know, so many years that people have been practicing this and teaching it. And then they also have courses where you can continue those courses and take five steps to it.
Yes.
Where you're actually you're training your nervous system to become an energy master.
Yes.
And then at that point, you can take discipleship with Yogananda and then become initiated into Kriya Yoga. And that takes about a year if you did them all back to back. And so, yeah, it's like for those who like to really have teachers and training, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I just signed up for the second course.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
I think it's either started this week or it's starting next week.
Very cool.
I'm very excited.
Nice. Yeah, super happy for you.
Me too. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close out?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure getting to chat with everybody here. Thank you for listening. I also have a podcast as well if you like hearing more of this stuff. I bring on artists and spiritual teachers, and I do a lot of solo podcasts as well, or with my partner JD as well. And so yeah, tune into that sometime if you like positive podcasts to help uplift your day.
Yeah, and the name of the podcast is called Seekers of the Eternal, and you can find it on Spotify. That's where I listen to it on. Is there any other platforms there?
Yeah, if you go to seekersoftheeternal.com, there'll be links to any of all the platforms there to get it from. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to it. I'm still like probably episode 14 right now, and it's great.
Nice. Yeah. Beautiful.
Keep it up. Definitely check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll see you all in the next episode.
Blessings, friends.
Thank you for joining Victor and Andy on The Unlimited You. Make sure to visit our website, www.feraacademy.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. If you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.